Today, what am I discussing? I am discussing about vitamin supplementation. Get this question a lot. What vitamins should I take? Are they worthy? Is it worth it? Um, and one thing I like to say is, per definition, a supplement, a vitamin or mineral supplement, um, it's just that. It's a supplement. It's meant to supplement a good, healthy diet and lifestyle already. So you're not going to supplement your way out of a bad diet. Let me give you a good example. I had a friend one time who was a heavy alcohol drinker. And he said that he was in the clear because he took milk thistle to protect his liver. Well, it's just not quite that simple. It's important that if you really are worried about protecting your liver, you just need to not drink alcohol. Don't think that milk thistle is going to magically fix you. So, and as we talk about on this podcast multiple times, and I want to hit that home today, is there are really largely three things that we can do to be healthy. And that's exercise, our diet, and sleep. And of those three, this is a surprise to most people. Usually people get them backwards. Usually they think exercise is the most important, but exercise is the least important. And I myself, I exercise quite often and love it. There is no better antidepressant than exercise, period. There's none ever invented. So speaking of nature therapy, speaking of things that were invented for us, exercise movement was invented for us. There's not some magic SSRI, antidepressant that's going to be better than exercise, period. I'm not saying antidepressants aren't sometimes needed, but long-term, I just don't think so. Exercise is the best way to prevent depression, or even if you're feeling bad at the time, just move. So exercise is the least important. Why do I say that? We don't have to exercise to live, right? We could sit on the couch and be sedentary all day and we would stay alive. That's pretty obvious. That doesn't mean we're going to be healthy, but we could stay alive. We need to eat to live. We can't live without food. So, food is very important, more important than exercise. But the most important is sleep. We will die without sleep before we'll die without food. Our bodies are created wonderfully, and they are created to be very resilient, and they are created to be wonderful storage of energy. And we store that energy mostly as fat. So most of us can live without food for 3 weeks. Now, not without water, only 3 days without water, but without food for 3 weeks. Yes, it wouldn't be very fun. Although if you ever tried fasting, after about 2 days, after about 48 hours, you don't get hungry anymore. So that's the mechanism of our body has created, and it decreases your insulin response, your insulin level, and high insulin levels is what creates us to be hungry. And many times in our standard American diet, we have really high insulin levels because we're eating so much processed food and so much carbs. That's why you're chronically hungry. If you really want to fix that problem, eat meat. I strongly recommend the carnivore diet. Although modified, I think we're omnivores. I don't think we're pure carnivores. I think we're created to eat plants and fruits also, but I do think probably in a moderation, and there's good plants and bad plants, and everybody is different. So you got to find out what works for you. But in general, most people eat too many carbs. And if you eat satisfying food, satiating food like steak, like beef, it's hard to overeat it, and it's not that difficult to eat one meal a day if you eat that in that manner. And that'll definitely raise your insulin levels, which puts you at risk for metabolic disease. High insulin does, and diabetes. So the food that was created for us to eat, that's a form of nature therapy already. And sleep. We will actually die without sleep after about 3 days. We go into psychosis and can die. So it's a horrible, miserable way. Sleep trumps everything. Our body does not get stronger when we exercise. Our body does not get stronger when we eat. Our body gets stronger when we sleep, period. So in that order. So I talk about food and how important food is, and if it doesn't rot, don't eat it. So, in general, eat good food. Um, so, um, and when do you need a supplement? Well, if you're not eating appropriately, which most people don't, but there again, you can't eat your way out of a bad diet. So there's certain disease states, and if you have certain diseases, whether it be HPA axis dysfunction, which is also known as maybe adrenal fatigue or adrenal dysfunction, um, you might have to take some kind of special supplement for a while to fix your adrenals, or if you have certain disease processes like GI problems, there's certain supplements you might have to take to get rid of those GI problems. But in general, eating a good healthy diet, you don't need to take a lot of supplements, and they're just that. They're to supplement a good healthy diet.